Hello and welcome to another episode of the Poverty Franchise Podcast. My name is PJ and today we're here to do a little Poverty Franchise Roundup. It's been a while since I've done one of my unfocused, just grabbing the biggest headlines from sports and talking about them today. So, first, always stay hydrated. Yes, I'm one of those weird people who actually keeps the souvenir cups from sporting events. Do what the information is, y'all will. We are going to start today with the Ime Udoka is now the head coach of the Houston Rockets. They had a pretty disastrous season, finished second to last in the West, only the Spurs being worse. The Steven Silas experiment is over. He went 22. They went 22-60. I think Steven Silas was kind of dealt a shit hand with this team and this roster. I think he's a much better coach than what people say and what he was able to show on the Rockets. But the fact of the matter is that he didn't develop them, or they didn't develop, and that's it, right? Ime Udoka is now coming in to try to right the ship after his controversy with Boston, which we still don't have much clarity on exactly what happened. But again, that's neither here nor there. The main question of the day is, can Ime Udoka build this roster? Can he develop them? I think there's a chance, but I think there's going to be an odd man out, right? So I'm going to say, these are your 5 young players that are worth keeping right out the jump. Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., Sengun, Jabari Smith, and Kenyon Martin. Those are the 5 that, you look at and you're like, these are the dudes that are worth keeping around, right? Kenyon Martin Jr. showed some flashes. I mean, he's in his 3rd year. He's taken a pretty decent jump in points per game. His true shooting percentage is pretty good. The three-pointer kind of went away this year on limited attempts, but he shoots good from the field. He's a good body, plays decent defense. So I think he's also not going to be the world's most expensive at a 12-point per game split. He signed through next year pretty cheaply. You can decide if you want to keep him. You already have given Kevin Porter Jr. the extension. He's getting $18 million a year. You're kind of stuck with them. You have team control over Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, and Sengun for a pretty good period. So you can kind of work and see if this core develops together, right? I think Sengun is probably the best of the players by just what he offers from the center position. He put up 15 points a game this year, had almost 4 assists and 9 rebounds a game, and almost tapping in a block and steal a game as well. Positively, he's kind of the centerpiece of your offense and your defense. He's pretty mobile for a center. He's a tad undersized. He's a bit thin-framed. He doesn't shoot many threes. He only about attempts 1 a game. Doesn't really have to, though, in my opinion. I still don't think centers have to shoot. It's just really nice if they do. My main concern, and this is like my hot take, is not Jalen Green's poor shooting numbers. That can be fixed with a good offense and good direction, because he's going to be the off guard there. And Kevin Porter is probably going to be your point guard there. So that's your backcourt. They're both going to have to play defense much better in order to be a starting playoff contending backcourt in the NBA. My main concern is actually at the 4 position, and that's Jabari Smith Jr. And then, of course, where are they going to go in the draft this year? I don't know. We don't know where the lottery is going to... They're probably going to have a top 5 pick. I mean, if they win the Victor lottery, go get Victor. You can move Sengun to the 4 because Victor can stretch the floor. And that really leaves Jabari Smith Jr. in a weird place, because I wouldn't give up Sengun over Jabari Smith Jr. I really wouldn't. Jabari Smith flashed some of that natural talent that made him the 3rd overall pick in the draft. But there was a lot of bad. There's a lot of he didn't shoot the ball very well from any distance. Forced a lot of bad opportunities. He only averaged 12 a game. 13 closer to. And the other issue with Jabari Smith Jr. is he's shown some coachability issues. Again, he's 19. All these dudes are super young. That's the other thing where you can't really give a definitive answer on, because all these dudes are under 23. Jabari Smith's still 19 years old. So they all have time to become good players and under team control for a long time. I think next year you're not going to see much of a shakeup other than in terms of even minutes, the rotation, and real roster moves. You might see a couple of veteran guys come in on some cheaper deals. You might take a flyer on some younger guys who found their way out of favor on other teams. You might overpay one of the role-playing veterans who's kind of played above his station on a contending team, a la Austin Reeves, even though that doesn't really fit in the roster. I'm just saying that's an example that type of player, to kind of add stability to the team. Because their one veteran presence was Eric Gordon. He's gone, so it's going to be interesting to see how this all works out and pans itself out. I truly think that Jabari Smith Jr. is going to end up being the odd person out because, again, their lottery odds are good. I'll have a more detailed mock for the NBA draft when the season's over and they do the lottery. But, I mean, we can just go look up a big board real quick. Because right now, they probably need a 3 because Kenyon Martin Jr. is probably best suited as a 6-man off the bench. He plays good minutes. Again, I wouldn't draft Brandon Miller. I have my thoughts about Brandon Miller. I don't like the fact that his character issues. I would not bring him to a young basketball team. It's kind of similar to my thoughts on Jalen Carter. I just don't believe that type of person belongs on an NBA team. But if someone's willing to give him the chance, I wouldn't put him in a young team that already has issues with each other. So again, Scoot. I don't see Scoot Henderson just sliding back to 2 or 3. He's going to be going number 2. So if they land in the top 2, do they go get Scoot Henderson and play small? Jalen Green at the 2. Kevin Porter Jr. at the 3 and have a real small lineup, and then Jabari Smith Jr. and Sengun at the 4 and 5. That's a possibility, and I think Scoot Henderson can add more playmaking that Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green really don't have. Kevin Porter Jr. only averaged 5.7 assists a game. It's only, for rounding down, that's only one more game than their center. And we round up at 6. It's still only 2 more games as they're saying. He led the team, so they're going to need more ball movement in Ime Udoka system. That is very much more likely to happen. But looking at the rest of the draft, Anthony Black is another good option, I think, if they land further back in the lottery. And then one of the Thompson twins. Again, your problem is that they're playing prep ball right now. So they're really playing against high schoolers, and they are 20, so their athletic ability and just age, they're going to be a bit above, but they're still great talents. I think they can maybe do something there. But again, they're playing against 20-year-olds, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. Can you flex one of the other 4s, like Jarris Walker from Houston, Cam Whitmore from Villanova, maybe into the 3? But if they land, they're not going to land outside the top 5. So would it be a stretch to go get Anthony Black? Maybe. Let's say they're 3, and my choice is the Thompson twins, Brandon Miller, Anthony Black. I really liked what Anthony Black did at Arkansas, and I think, but again, he is a bit more raw. He's not really ready to play, but so are the Thompson twins. That is your only upside with Brandon Miller, is that he's probably one of the most ready to play dudes in this draft Because this draft class is very top heavy, right? There isn't many, a lot of these dudes are going to be guys who are, you're going to have to really develop. Their ceiling is probably going to be role players. There's a lot of interesting players on this big board. Again, Isaiah Wong, good guard out of Miami, ready to play. He's going to be no more than a bench player, sadly, though. Amari Bailey, again, a raw prospect, could develop into something. Zach Edey, you can use him in minutes immediately with his frame, right? And this is turning into an NBA draft analysis. I'll have to do more research into it, of course. G.G. Jackson, that's another real good option just deep in the draft. But again, this is a very top-heavy draft, right? If they get number 1, you get Victor. You get Victor every fucking time. But if you get 2 or 3, You either go for Scoot or, in my opinion, go for Anthony Black. And I don't know what Ime will be thinking there. It is a good time to get a new coach. It's really before. I mean, a lot of the scouting has been done, but not a decision has not been made. Like the NBA Combine hasn't happened, interviews haven't happened, the workouts haven't happened. NBA Combine doesn't really matter, but your workouts and your interviews and your meetings with teams have not happened yet. So it's good that you have the new coach in to do that. And I think Ime can balance this shit, but Ime will also not fuck around and get someone out of there that needs to be gotten out of there, or flip them while they still have potential for someone who's a guarantee, someone who's a known commodity, right? With all these young players and picks, you can do that. It's like, oh, this dude still has potential. Trade him high before that potential is lost. So that's the Ime Udoka situation with the Rockets. I think it's a good move for him personally. The next one will be moving on to the NFL. I'm free. I am finally free. Aaron Rodgers has been traded to the Jets officially. It finally happened. I'm free from hell. If Jordan Love ends up being good, God help my soul as a Bears fan. I cannot fucking take it anymore. But details of the trade you see on the screen. Packers get they do a first round pick swap. They get the number 13 overall pick. They get the second round pick from this year's draft, a 6th rounder, and a conditional second round pick in 2024 that can become a first round pick if Aaron Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps for the Jets this year, offensive snaps for the Jets this year. The Jets get Aaron Rodgers, they move back to 15, and they get a 5th rounder out of this. For the Packers, that's a great trade for basically someone who didn't want to play for the team, that had no leverage, and the Jets still gave it to him. I still think it's also a good trade for the Jets. Zach Wilson was cooked. If they didn't make this trade happen, they would have had to settle for someone like Will Levis or Hendon Hooker in the draft, because Stroud and Young would have been gone by 13. And hell, maybe even Levis would be gone by 13 as well. So you really only have like Hendon Hooker left in that situation. So Hendon Hooker and the guy from, not Michael Penix, Skylar Thompson, the dude from UCLA. I mean, give me a second. I'm going to figure this out real quick. Yeah, Darian Thompson Robinson. I'm sorry. That's really, and then yeah, he's more like a 3rd, 4th rounder. You know, he might develop into some. Probably is going to end up being a backup or flame out the league in a few years. Again, I hope I'm wrong about that, by the way. What does this mean for both teams? Well, the Packers, it's time for Jordan Love to show up, put up or shut up. And it's also time for the Jets. Zach Wilson, let's see, is Zach Wilson the only thing that was holding the team back? Yes, it was. The line was not that bad. Before, even with Breece Hall went down, the run game was still there. They have good weapons on the outside. Their defense is a pretty solid unit. Robert Saleh is a great coach. Zach Wilson just did not have it. And I get that he had the natural arm talent, but what he didn't have was he did not have what it took to survive in the New York sports media landscape. I'm almost of the opinion that you probably shouldn't draft a quarterback in New York at this point, because the New York sports media landscape. Daniel Jones has survived it. He got paid. I think Eli Manning survived it, but none of the Jets picks survived the New York sports media landscape, and Zach Wilson was just too soft for it. He's always kind of been the messiah. He's always been this top tier quarterback. He only really got punched in the nose bad one time in college. That was the Coastal Carolina game. He never really went through like adversity, I'd say, in college. He never went through extreme criticism, because he still played good in that game. And it was just more of the Coastal was super hot that year, and there was a short, they were scheduled short-term notice, all because of the COVID year and all that. So, and it's just crazy how the team just is riding with Aaron Rodgers. They said, fuck Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, I mean, he still has an opportunity. He's still young. That's his upside, right? He's still a very young player. I don't think he's going to be like flame out the league completely. It's going to be interesting to see if Zach Wilson decides he wants to be a journeyman backup type guy, or if he's going to go down to the AAF or USFL to be a starter and try to get starting snaps to get back into a starting position in the league. There's 2 years and they've not been good though. No completion percentage hasn't gone over. He only threw 54%. He was banged up and injured. He's thrown more interceptions than touchdowns in his 2 years. QBR is in the floor. He might as well have thrown it into the fucking ground a lot of the time, and you have a better QBR. Again, there was flashes there. You could see the arm talent. He just didn't have the intangibles and the decision making. And it's the fact that first year his shit was getting beat the fuck up, man. Like he was getting beat up real bad. And it's gonna be interesting to see where his career goes from now. It's probably gonna be the backup this year. They're not gonna pick up the 5th-year option, so he only has 2 more seasons with the Jets if he doesn't get cut for salary reasons or traded for like a 7th rounder or something. I don't see a team giving him a chance at the starting job ever again, really, unless they're like a tank commander team. The only way he really gets a chance to be a starter again is if someone gets hurt, someone goes down, and he steps in and shows that growth. Aaron Rodgers is not the quarterback to learn under. I'm just going to keep it a buck. He's not. He's not going to teach him shit. Like Brett Favre didn't teach him shit. He's not going to teach him shit. You're going to have to learn and observe him, though. Because there's stuff to be learned there, Zach, but you're going to have to learn and observe. And it's going to be really interesting to see where his career goes. And then looking at Jordan Love, again, I've seen good things out of Jordan Love in the limited play time. He doesn't look like an ass quarterback at all. He doesn't look bad. I'm just going to be mad if he's really good. That just pissed me off because then I'd go through 3 quarterbacks in a row that were just fucking amazing, and I just can't deal with it. But it's a new era in Green Bay. I think it's time to see what Jordan Love can do. We all thought, even me, think he was a reach in the draft. I don't think he did quite enough at Utah State to warrant being a first-round pick, especially when the Packers needed to build around Aaron Rodgers to kind of get more of that contending window. Them drafting a quarterback was pretty interesting. But we will see how it all goes, and hopefully the Green Bay Packers not own the Chicago Bears anymore for my sake. Then moving on to the NBA playoffs, I did my short yesterday. The Bucks go down 3-1 against the Heat, and a great performance, 56-point game from Jimmy Butler. Lakers go up 3-1 on the Grizzlies, and I really want to discuss Draymond Green without none of the good of Draymond Green. Dylan Brooks, he 14 points a game. He shoots less than 40% from the field. I don't see, as people say, I don't see he's on the Grizzlies next year. I truly don't. I don't see he's on the NBA roster next year on anything that's not the vet minimum or maybe the mid-level exception. I don't see it. Again, he is a unrestricted free agent next year. He made $11 million this year. I don't see how he's in the league after this. I can't tell you what he really does all that well. He doesn't shoot the ball good. He plays good hard-nosed defense, but he doesn't shoot the ball well at all. He can't shoot the 3-ball. Once he starts shooting the 3-ball in volume, his 3-point percentage fucking plummeted. His defensive blocks plus minus, his defensive numbers are all pretty good. With the eye test, the advanced numbers say otherwise. Does he offer leadership? Not particularly. He pisses off the other team's star player, if you consider that leadership. And has he shown up in the playoffs? The fucking in one playoffs in the 2020-2021 season, yeah, he actually did. He actually played really well in those playoffs, and that's probably what got him paid. But in the next 2 playoffs, he ain't do shit. He ain't do shit, really. Did okay last year, but this year, 11 points a game, 22% from 3. 33% from the field. He only shot 34% from the field last time, by the way. His 3-point percentage was okay. And his numbers were okay. But I can't... Does his defense get better in the playoffs? No, it doesn't. It gets worse, actually. So, when it really matters, what does he do? What does he do for your roster? I don't know. I think he does nothing but give you problems. And I don't think he should... I still think he should not... He shouldn't probably be out of the league. I'm not saying anything like that. He shouldn't be out the league. And not to take away from what Taylor Jenkins has done as a great coach. But they can save a lot of money by not re-signing him. Again, when you have dudes like John Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr., where does Dylan Brooks really fit in? At the 3, right? You have Luke Kennard. I'd rather start Luke Kennard at the fucking 3 or the 2 than fucking At the end of the day, the defense evens out. One of them can shoot fucking threes at almost 50% clip, and the other can't. I don't know. Like, if I had to choose, I don't know what his contract situation is. I'm about to look right now. Yeah, Luke Kennard's signed for the next couple years. Yeah, keep Luke Kennard. Sure, your defense is actually is legitimately gonna crater. Like, there's no stopping that from happening, right? But like, fuck, it's better than Dillon Brooks, man. And I don't think any of the teams are gonna come back from a 3-3 deficit. And the most interesting series, of course, Warriors, Kings, and Knicks, Cavs are your two most interesting series. I think even though the Knicks went up, the Knicks are up 3-1 now. Let me see. Yeah, the Knicks are up 3-1. I don't think the Cavs are coming back from that one tonight. Or is it? Yeah, tomorrow at 7. Yes. I don't think they're coming back from that. And the last thing I want to discuss is kind of the situation at Tottenham. They're not doing too hot right now. They lost 6-1 to Newcastle. It's not a good look. They fired their interim manager. And, you know, do you think it'd be a year where they'll finish above Arsenal? But as Arsenal's in first, they might be bottling the league, hopefully, for my Man City to come back, but maybe not. And the only other thing of soccer news I want to really cover is Chelsea's probably going to go with Pochettino for the foreseeable future. And I hope Pochettino can get over the hump there and kind of make with that roster what he can. Mason Mount seems like he's on the way out. Reece James keeps getting hurt. He's probably shut down for the year. They spent a lot of money. I think it's time to see if you can stick with a manager who's not Graham Potter, I guess. Should have probably stuck with Tuchel, y'all. Should have stuck with Tuchel. That is all I got for the Poverty Franchise podcast. It's been PJ signing off. Have a great rest of your day, y'all.